Hey folks, welcome to the final market internal review for June. This is the 30th, 2023, Friday. Wow, what an amazing open today. We had a $3 and change gap up from yesterday's close of 438 and change. We opened up around 441. So just a phenomenal pump over the relative highs that we had really crammed up against at the end of yesterday's session and had worked ourselves up to the majority of the week. So I think that really left very little room for a rise today, although we still saw quite a move. The overall price was $1.80. You know, from the highs to the open was $2.85, so still quite impressive. A couple of fantastic trade entries if you're using the session TWAP and the other market internals. Trend struggled today to give us much of anything as far as a balance or imbalance type signal. It did give us a balance, even though honestly, this week is having me consider maybe adjusting the levels for trend, but they've been working so well in the past, so I'm just really not sure. But it keeps reading balance, even though we've got quite a lot of movement here to the upside still today. It did disappear about midday here. We based on the lower end of the standard deviation. It appears for a little bit, and then after that, we basically trend up for the rest of the day. Up here until the end. So I don't know. It's just something I'm still thinking about. I'm going to look around and see historically if we've had periods like this, but it also could be due to the low volatility. I'm not entirely sure. Okay, so the morning open, I'll be honest, I was kind of expecting a little bit of a gap test just because of how high we started. The ad started, I want to say around 1600. Let's see. Replay should show us. Okay, 1500-ish. Vold was really cramming up high. Puts and calls, I mean, we were just even lower than we were yesterday. So yeah, I was expecting some downside, and we kind of chopped up. You can see these bars, the way they're kind of wicky, and we had these engulfs up and then knifes back down, engulfs back up, knifes back down. So really annoying if you weren't already in from the morning, which unless you just somehow had a crystal ball, I don't know why you would enter longs other than just a pure chase in the morning. So if you did that, happy for you, fantastic. But yeah, it was definitely kind of a interesting open. I'm sure futures traders probably had extended trading hours data. I mean, even if we turned it on here, I'm sure there's probably a little bit of something. Yeah, I mean, a strong base here and here. I don't know. I mean, maybe that candle action there could have given you enough confidence to enter some small longs, like here and here. But yeah, I don't know. I got in the habit of just using the RTH data. So anyways, that being said, we started off really hot on tick. Strong, extremely strong closures on tick, literally on the first bar, even though we kind of closed down on that first bar. And we continued just, I mean, barely any downside tick at all. Look at that. I mean, what is that? Negative 100. We saw that literally until 10:30. Now the closures were coming down on the average for tick. Meanwhile, SPY is just ripping up. I don't know how big this move is. I'm going to guess somewhere around $2. Okay, $1.75. And classic cup and handle fake out on the morning high here retraces right to TWAP. And the thing that's interesting to me is we have a clear divergence between tick, where it's clearly coming down, but SPY is still headed up. So that could be something to look at in the future if you like playing divergences. That might be a consistent enough signal. Not sure, but check that out. Then for the afternoon, or sorry, for the midday session here, so lunchtime ish, we basically oscillate the standard deviation. We really made no headway here, and we did get a strong closure on the bearish side for tick finally here on this knife into the session TWAP price around 442. This pattern here, I mean, clear as day for me. I've been seeing this quite a lot in this low VIX environment where we just consolidate and there's just a nice, really nice, consistent low here where every candle's low is essentially the same price. There's just a wall there. Meanwhile, you see the 20 SMA trends on the add and vold completely flip back bullish by the time we're doing this. We reclaim TWAP, we knife, retest, boom, we close right above it. I mean, that's go time for me. That was amazing. So definitely had a nice long uptrend after that. I don't know how many points that could have been if you risk at the break of the lower standard deviation. I mean, we hit first standard, second, and third standard deviations. There's a $1.43 setup right there. Beautiful. Everything pretty much full alignment. Trends missing, but if it's missing, that's better than yellow. I like to see white, but tick here is your friend, letting you know that, hey, on the average, tick is trending up. We're seeing all these beautiful closures, or rather all these beautiful highs up here, breaking that 500 neutral area to the upside. Phenomenal. So that's a good day on SPY. I was amazed that we closed up and we did have that knife, and I think after hours we came down a little bit more. But tick levels for the day, interesting. We had a tick level right around TWAP. One at highs, one right off the morning, which, yep, that makes sense because we had those extreme closures. And then here's that level that we reclaimed from the morning session here, that 443. We had a tick level. And look at all that immense tick in order to reclaim this price. So it's always so interesting to see where tick creates a level. We break below. See, we reject it here, come back down, and then we have to, and notice here too, we didn't have high tick. We just had neutral tick. So if you were watching this and you had the tick levels indicator on, you see prices coming up here, you look at the tick. Are we doing any kind of extreme tick highs? No. That could be a potential short bing bong type entry where, you know, maybe you trim some off once we reclaim TWAP, move your stops in, and see if we can get to the other side of the first standard deviation, or you know, maybe even better, maybe it would really dump off here. Don't know. But that's a potential setup there. And you did have the 20 SMA trends, or at least on the ad, showing bearishness. So that could have been a fun little scalp. But anyway, so that's pretty interesting here. Then you see we make this new tick level here pretty late into the day, and we really can't reclaim. And that kind of makes sense. At this point, what strength is left, right? $3 and some gap up, and another almost $2 move, and it's Friday. We've got a short day Monday, and then a holiday on Tuesday for US, being July 4th. So, yep, then we get this hard sell off right back into here. Well, and I say hard sell off relative, right? That's the biggest down candle we had all day. So, relatively hard, but obviously didn't really give up much. So, pretty amazing. I'll turn tick levels off here. Let's look at Qs. Wow, okay. So, Qs, a lot more flat today. Still an amazing gap up. Now I just turned my drawings off. They're going to pop back. So we had a $3.7 gap up there. Crazy. Pretty much same as SPY. We rip up. We lose TWAP. Standard deviation high. Lose TWAP. Hit low. Bounce. Now the thing I'll say is we definitely just reclaimed high a day. We did not actually make any new high days in the late afternoon session like we did on SPY. Tick levels, I'm sure, will show that. Yeah. So just dove right back down into that. Take a look at the Dow. Now, recall yesterday's video, we looked at Dow and we looked at the Russ, and they were really moving. Wow, so these levels we had on our chart, if you've been using those or following along, those came in really handy today. Wow, that's incredible. So those came in handy. We reject those levels perfectly, and yeah, and then we, dang, down to the tip of the wick there, we reject that one at the end of the day. But you could look here, Dow moved essentially just like SPY in the later half of the day. The first half of the day, it really didn't. It kind of waffled around a lot worse as far as I'm concerned. Still amazing though. We'll look at tick levels here real quick. Yeah, so built a base. So all of these could have been nice long attempts in favor of tick, and the bands for add and vold. Yeah, that would have been fantastic. This was an easy day. Take a look at the Russ here. Okay, Russ is okay. Russ has given up some of the momentum it had earlier in the week. We knifed down pretty hard. What is that? Yeah, that's a. Wait a minute. Why does TradingView say that's a up candle? $1.19. Oh, maybe because it started there from the gap up. Either way, that's a pretty big sell-off. They chop in. We don't even make that morning open price. Reject TWAP hard, actually, and start heading back into previous days' standard deviation levels. We do finally find a bounce point on the hard sell on tick. So maybe the hard sell on tick here was the Russ part of the market. Interesting. And then we do this reclaim that all the other indices seem to have. We do make a new high a day here. Okay, that's interesting. Ooh, a lot of weakness here. Nobody's winning anything here. Session standard deviation high TWAP on that first deviation. Retest that, dump, retest TWAP, and really sell back off again, almost back to low a day. Huh, fascinating. Yeah, and there's a lot more tick levels here. I think this is the only index that had red tick levels today. So that's fascinating. Interesting. Okay. Let's go look at the naked charts here on tick. So tick is showing us. Okay, yeah. So here, look at that tick. Look where we started today. Started at 1,660 stocks on the New York Stock Exchange, just full ripper mode. So the entire market gapped up today. It wasn't just, you know, a handful of the big guys from a couple of the indexes. No, it was the entire market. And then it continued to hold that. Oh gosh, what is this? 10 o'clock, 10:30 is when we saw that hard sell-off right here into the, we closed in the bearish zone. So that was a really heavy sell-off. So I do think that was Russ. That was the majority Russ stocks dumping hard right there. So we can blame the Russ market for not allowing SPY and Qs to just continue ripping into the end of the week. Thanks, Russ. Gets a little noisy here at the end. Overall, though, you know what I'm noticing is not a whole lot of wicks here. If you've been watching these videos for any time, you know that when there's a good market move, there's still a lot of wicks on these candles, but tick is actually incredibly clean today. That's interesting. Trend, our old buddy Trend here. Trend started in the balance zone with some pretty heavy candles here. Dumps off. Look at that. Okay, see, this tells me this level is still right on at 0.7. And all of these levels, yeah, I'm not touching them. A lot of 20 SMA cross downs, which is bullish. And, you know, even though we had a gap up, even though we did move still on the end of the day for SPY, it isn't like we had a massive trending kind of day like we've seen in the past, where trend is down here in that bullish zone. Gosh, what day was that now? That was a while back. This day, June 15th. So if we went back to look at SPY on June 15th, okay, here we go. Yeah, June 15th. Look at this. Now that is a trend imbalance day. Boom. Look. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this day was great. $6.67 move. Yeah, that's the kind of trend day I want. We didn't get that today. That's all right. Okay. The ad, yeah. So look. So ad is showing us, wow, we actually started at 2,000. Started at 2,000. The whole time ad's coming down. SPY's still going up. Crazy. Still going up. Sideways, kind of consolidating, right? But look at that. And then we reclaim that bullish area. But we teeter out right around here. And we just kind of waffle. So this level still showing effectiveness. Down to the wicks here. That's funny. Yeah. No shock, our friend Vold here just continued to rip all day, which makes sense. The more I watch this and the more I look at the four indices all together, the more this makes sense to me of why volume would continue to increase all day. It's a cumulative measurement, and we're seeing Russ come down, but SPY and Q are strong. The Dow's still strong. So on the whole, we'll see a flat ad as one of the indices, in this case of the day, Russ, is cooling off, but then the other indices set of stocks are still rising. So we're going to get this kind of zigzag, and the volume is still going to be lifting the whole market up and accounting for the Russ, you know, some of this downward movement. On the whole, we're still rising. And the volume's still pouring into the stocks that are advancing on the whole. So, okay. So one thing I did want to tell you about, I did release a tick levels update. I don't remember if I even mentioned it. That basically allows you to keep your tick levels over time, not erase the ones from the previous days. If you're going to use this feature, I would definitely do it with a much higher tick value. So instead of the 500 that we usually have it set up for to see these neutral zone breaks on an intraday basis, like on like using the intraday tick levels, I set it to 1,000 because what I'm more interested in at the higher time frames is where do we see the big tick hits. That would be the bigger, more higher time frame relevant levels. Okay, so I did that, and I can't even believe this chart I'm looking at. Sorry. This is insane. So one thing that I wish I would have had in my video, because I did this last night, but I did it after the video. I looked at this, and I'm seeing on this area where we ended the day yesterday, right? The inverse head and shoulders and cup and handle warriors are just going ballistic here. I noticed we had no tick levels, no 1,000 based tick breaks in this entire region here. So if you look at like volume profile, you know, there's the idea of areas where there is a void of liquidity because price moves so fast between two different points. I was fascinated to see this. I don't know if it's exactly the same as volume profile, but very fascinating to see that there was nothing here. And so it really left me wondering just what we were going to see. And I was even more shocked when I saw the price of where we gapped up to was essentially right where this tick level was. And if you look at these other tick levels, it's exactly where we oscillated, and it's pretty much where we ended the day. So, I mean, just incredible, this tick level stuff and how relevant it appears to be for reading price and understanding kind of where price can go. I mean, even this tick level here, right? So we printed a couple downward tick levels back in June 14th. But you can see exactly every time we hit those areas, that's where we reject or that's where we bounce. Every time we hit this low on the 28th, that's exactly where we bounce. I mean, every time. Every single time. This pump up here, we retrace. Where do we stop? On this tick level. And then, we didn't make it any further on this day on this price, but that's exactly where we bounce. And then we reject this one. Incredible stuff. So this definitely was fascinating to watch today. And then I saved a whole group of the trend lines here just to have the actual prices. I may update that indicator again so that I actually have the price values print here. I'm not sure I can do that, but we'll see. Yeah, I mean, just incredible. All these different price levels and exactly, I mean, the price consolidation here on the 5-minute, 15-minute might even be a little cleaner. Yeah. Doji's almost right on there. A couple of them. Crazy. So I would definitely encourage you to check that feature out. I just think it's incredibly relevant. If you do it, you just use the tick levels indicator. This is enabled by default, but you can just disable this, right? You unclick it, and that will allow it to go from an single session-based indicator to at least 5,000 bars back. I think that's the max the study can go. So we have a short Monday. Like I said, we end at 1, and then Tuesday is no trading at all. So I'm gonna figure there's gonna be some kind of pullback. That's completely just gut based. But just looking at how extended we ended up on the week, as far as this month goes, wow. Okay, we crammed right up on that second deviation high there. That's right where we rejected. So as far as I'm concerned, we started really trending only right here at the end of the month. We were this high June 15th, and then we gave it all up, and then just to come right back. So, will we revisit this area? Will we revisit? I mean, we got a gap here, and we have a gap here. I'm sure at some point gaps will just be left; they will not be filled. But I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of cooling off, given that the new month is starting, the new week is starting. All of my TWAPs are going to be starting over, so not much I can say as far as what kind of value ranges to expect, because it's all going to be reset. That being said, the standard deviations that we're ending on here will be the new levels for next month's price targets. So like this month, we used May's standard deviation lines. Next month, we'll use June's standard deviation lines. So all these prices here. Let's look at, gosh, I don't know if I can do, okay, I'm going to have to go higher up. Wow, okay, yearly TWAP. We're going to yearly TWAP here. Ooh. All right, 409. Look at that. That was clean. Wow, look at that. That was a clean test of that level. Interesting. Let's just go to daily. Fascinating stuff. Okay. Well, if we're using yearly TWAP, if we hold 439, then 472. 472 would be in favor. So another thing I do as well is draw some fibs in between these higher, especially like these higher time frames. Let me close those up. Okay. Yeah, so I draw some fib levels through here. So the 0.5 is 455. Crazy stuff. I think we really got to protect this gap first, see what we can do with that. But you know, we've got plenty of gaps down here that we never really tested. So we could just leave this behind and just rip into the next month. It's a summer month, seasonality, if you look into that at all. I'm pretty sure July on average historically is a pretty green month. So probably expect it to continue. We'll go ahead and end it here. If you watch this long, appreciate it. I'm sure this is probably a longer video as I started yakking about all kinds of random stuff, but really enjoy the comments I've been receiving. Getting a lot of feedback through Discord on different things. People are really curious about MIT and the market internals, so if you've got any success using them, I would definitely love to hear it. Leave me a comment, and if you're in the United States, I hope you have a fantastic July 4th holiday, hopefully celebrating with friends and family. Stay safe out there if you're going to light any fireworks. And yeah, as always, happy trading.